This is The Body's Compass with Matt Sorensen and today's guest, Bridget Hughes. Bridget is a trainer-teacher for Iyengar Yoga students. Unlike other yoga practices, Bridget had to train in this practice for 5 years just to be able to teach a class for herself. Matt and Bridget get deep into topics such as union, becoming self-aware, and much more. Let's join the chat.
Welcome, everybody, to the show. This episode has taken us literally 25 hours to get to this point.
There's been a few technical issues,
There's
which we have overcome with grace and perseverance.
Yes, and I think after today I'm going to have to include another practice. Today I am with Bridget Hughes, who is our main yoga teacher here at TrueWoo. Before we get into the yoga stuff, Bridget, just so the audience can get to know you, can you share a bit about yourself, your background, and what has shaped you as an individual, and how that's going to influence everything we're going to talk about today?
Wow, let's start with a big question, Matt.
Right
to the nitty-gritty. So, personal journey. I'm from Adelaide. I'm from the Adelaide Hills.
The Adelaide.
And I moved to Sydney with work back in the early 90s, I think. So I've been here long enough to call myself a Sydney-sider, although lots of people might disagree.
I'll allow it.
Yogically, I fell into yoga. I didn't plan to be a yoga teacher. It just unfolded quite organically for me. I was at work and there was a lunchtime class down in the dirty, dusty basement. So that was run by Johnny Batchelor, who ended up being a student with me. We have the same senior teacher. So that's how I started my introduction to yoga. And then just organically you start seeking out extra classes to do.
Mm.
So at that point I lived in Glebe. I found an extra class to do there. And then when I moved into Cronulla, I found another teacher here and just gradually kept doing more and more classes. It was a thing that I chose to do in my spare time.
And what was it about, I guess, that initial class that hooked you in?
I think it was fun, moving your body in ways that we don't normally use them. Back then I was a much younger person, mid-20s. So you're fairly fit and flexible then. So the classes were quite active. It was fun.
Okay. So from that moment, something must have shifted for you. What was it? Was this is my thing?
I think you realize that there's more to the movement. So that's when you start seeking things out. You start going more. You feel good after class, not just physically, but there's a kind of mental calm, mental peace, maybe. You're more of an even keel. So I started seeking out classes. In 2003, I went to a convention with Gita Iyengar, I should say the yoga I teach is Iyengar Yoga, and it's the Iyengar family. So I went to Gita Iyengar's convention in Sydney, and that was quite the thing for me. It was quite mind-blowing. So many people. There would have been 250, 300 people, maybe more, in one room, all practicing together. The energy was amazing. So from there, I found myself a senior teacher in Sydney, and then started going to Cape Harry's classes in Bondi Junction. You start doing 4 classes a week there regularly.
Mm.
And that's how I came to be a teacher. People in the classes start asking you questions, and it just kind of happened. It
Because
kind of flowed.
you were saying, so for the listeners listening to this now, we actually recorded an entire episode 24 hours ago, and about 15 minutes into the recording, unbeknownst to us at the time, I only found out later the day that after about 15 minutes, the recording just decided to not record anymore. So a lot of, yeah. You were saying yesterday that you fall into teaching.
Yeah,
How do you fall into it and not? Is that different to pursuing it?
I think so.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that I wanted to do. It wasn't something that I said I need to work on myself. I'm going to go and do a 200-hour teacher training. You go to all those classes with the senior teacher, and people start asking you questions. People expect you to know stuff. You're the one that the teacher demonstrates on. So, and then you just naturally join the teacher training group. So in Iyengar, in my teacher training that I do and that I run, it's not a 200-hour course. It's based on an apprenticeship. So there's kind of no start and end. I still do teacher training. You just keep learning.
So you don't go to India for the weekend, do your 200 hours, and all of a sudden you're an enlightened yoga instructor. Yours was quite extensive. Well, so I guess technically still going, right?
Yeah, still going. I still go. I still go to Kay's classes once a week, and I also do an online class from India, from Pune, from the Iyengar Institute there. So I'm still learning always and passing what I learn on to my students.
Now you mentioned your practice is Iyengar Yoga. Now for the people who aren't quite versed in the different types, most have heard of Hatha Yoga, Yin Yoga, Flow, all the the main ones. Can you give us a bit of a rundown about what is Iyengar Yoga?
Yeah, sure. So we have to pedal backwards for that. It's a bit of history. So back in the early 1900s, there was a quite well-revered yoga guru called Krishnamacharya, and I do hope I'm saying these names correctly. He had he was worked for the Mahabharata of Mysore, so quite well regarded, and he taught the Maharaja, and he had a group of students. Now, those students include Desikachar, who's his son, and continues on teaching. It included Patabi Joyce, who started Ashtanga Yoga, and Ashtanga Yoga is that's where the vinyasa, the flow yoga comes from as well, and also Indra Devi, and she ended up in Hollywood and spread yoga there. So from Krishnamacharya, that's how yoga got to the West, through him. I don't think he ever went to the West himself, but that's how it spread throughout the world. Now, Mr. Iyengar, he was Krishnamacharya's brother-in-law. So his sister was married to Krishnamacharya, and Mr. Iyengar, when he was young, was quite ill with tuberculosis. I think he was still a young teenager then, and they didn't have enough money to pay for any medication. So it go and live with your brother-in-law and see if that helps you. So he lived to 95, which is amazing for having tuberculosis back in the early 1900s. yes, so that's the history of Iyengar. So from that, he started an institute. He sent out to teach in high schools, and he was with Krishnamacharya for 2 years, I think, and then Krishnamacharya sent him away. He said, go spread yoga in Pune, in Mumbai. So he went off and did that, teaching in universities and schools, often hardly making enough to eat. And he decided he was going to live the yoga of the householder. So he got married and had children, and his family now carries on his legacy. Back to you, Matt.
I know Iyengar Yoga is known for precision.
Yes.
So how does that translate into real structural change in the body?
Yeah, so there is a few pillars of Iyengar Yoga, and alignment is one of them. So it's very similar to the Chinese version of Qi, the flow of energy. So in yoga, you align the body so that the energy flows freely. So that you stop the blockages. So everything is aligned and flowing. And Iyengar Yoga uses prompts to help with that. So, you can't touch the floor. You've got a belt or a brick. You can't get your hip in, so you use a prop to help you get that alignment. Another pillar of Iyengar Yoga is the sequencing, so doing poses in a particular order. So I like to think that my classes are accessible to everybody, because I start simply and build up to the more challenging poses. So people can stay with wherever they are, and everybody can do something. You're not going to feel like, the odd one out because you can't do it, because you're still working on the same thing. Another thing we talked about yesterday was timing, how staying in the poses, staying in the position is also something that Iyengar Yoga practitioners work with.
How do you decide how long?
It depends what pose, actually. So some of the more challenging ones are not held long in the beginning. You generally build up your time. You start quickly and build up. So we used the example yesterday of holding your arms up, and I did a class where we held our arms up for 6 minutes. So we could try it. Timer.
I don't think I have the thing's gonna. I need to touch the thing soon. The screen.
So you learn a lot from doing that, from holding a position, and it's not just physical, it's not just strengthening your muscles, and it's not just willpower. It's how you respond to those things emotionally, physically, mentally, and your capacity for being able to do that. How you observe yourself.
Because we were talking yesterday about holding that up, and I guess what we physiologically have to go through to be able to do that, and how that mirrors itself mentally, with the nervous system being the first to fatigue and the longest to recover. But the nervous system being first to fatigue, then you could argue the muscle itself, then the connective tissue. But then at some point, the mind kind of gets involved in the process. Yes, you need to consciously do it and all that kind of stuff, but there's a time where it goes beyond physical.
Yeah. Yes. So that mental capacity, your capacity to persevere in situations that are a little bit uncomfortable. And how your mind is able to do that. So you learn through your practice how to deal with uncomfortable things.
Because I think a lot of people, they would see, people in the park, for example, just putting arms up in the air, and they're going to say, oh, well, that's that exercise, or that's, whatever. But if you think about doing that correctly, now I've got my strength coach brain on. If you're going to press something up into that position, as soon as your hands get kind of chest, shoulder, you need to be able to reverse the thoracic curve.
Yeah, have to hold your back in.
But also not create too much of a lordosis as well, which then requires the entire abdominal wall.
The whole body.
And then the external obliques going up into the pectoral fascia, which merges into the cervical fascia, going to the cranial fascia. And you'll notice if you've got an imbalance in those fascial slings, if you press up with both hands and your head, or you kind of kink somewhere, that's your body.
Yeah, there's something
showing you something.
I don't have the technical knowledge that you do. I don't know the names of all the muscles or all of that stuff, but I know what I can see. So it's you would know it's very easy with practice to see imbalances in people. So in a way, you don't really have to know what it's called, but if you can see it and know how to correct it and teach people to feel that imbalance, because sometimes people have no clue that like one arm's 5 centimeters taller than the other, and that's not necessarily coming from your arms.
No.
So where is that imbalance? So sometimes that extra set of eyes, someone else's eyes, is invaluable.
Yeah.
So most of my classes are online as well, but I really think being in a class face to face makes so much difference, because you get the feedback. You get the feedback from me or other teachers, so that you know exactly where you've got to work on, so you can feel it and know what you have to do.
Yeah, because we were talking about yesterday how the meaning of yoga means union or reunion with one, or Christianity's taken that to a different definition, but that's tomorrow's episode. With yoga meaning union, as you were talking about, say, arms up, you have to know where you are in time and space.
Yes.
And the instructor is helpful because, you're there. You might be kinking in the spine. It could be a hip, wherever in the body. Well, it's not, and that's where the chi is stuck. Stuck might be a strong word, but there's a blockage of some sort there.
An obstacle.
Some kind of obstacle, a big rock in the stream. And as you're getting corrected, you could say, you're becoming more one with yourself. Because then you're allowing that flow to...
It's observing from the inside. Observing not just how you feel, but what you have to do to make that feel correct. Sometimes it takes a while to understand that. It takes a while to feel an imbalance. But once you, with practice, once you learn to observe yourself, and Iyengar Yoga teaches from the outside in, because it's so much easier to observe your body, your physical body, than it is to observe your thoughts, your mind, your reactions. And that's how you start. You start with that practice, and you get used to that constant observation and readjusting and change, small change. It's not Not very often, I think it's a big change all at once, but often it's lots of little micro adjustments constantly that bring us back to center, bring us back to alignment, physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever level you're working on at the moment, at that time.
I mean, as above, so below, as below, so above. It's hard to think straight when your posture's all distorted, be it from a moving viewpoint or a stationary viewpoint. I kind of teach that our emotional anatomy is stored in the soft tissue, the fascia, the muscles, the organs, but it's the skeleton which actually reflects the underlying psychological theme.
You are right, because the skeleton doesn't bend, right? It's just pulled off to the side. So it's easy to spot, isn't it?
Well, it's also funny because the skeleton itself doesn't, but it's made up of articulate joints, which allows it to. And those joints actually, the type 4 mechanoreceptors, no, they're the pain receptors. The type 3 mechanoreceptors have to travel through the internuncial pool at the level of the spinal cord, go up to the brain and say, hey, this is what this is doing. And then ideally the person's healthy enough to be able to consciously adapt to that restriction or that weakness or whatever it is. But most people, you were saying yesterday, aren't really in touch with themselves to that degree. So they keep enforcing that. And a lot of people don't realize that the brain is actually quite lazy. It's if you've got a restriction in your rib cage, one of the lower ribs, for example, that could be shortening, quote unquote, your right arm shoulder.
Yes.
But also, the more and more that goes on, the brain starts to just forget about it because you've figured out a new way to do the movement.
Yeah. It's like when
you've got through that part. So the brain just then lays down pathways to reinforce that new pattern, and it forgets about the adhesion.
Yeah. Like when you get into your car and you just drive automatically, you're just so used to doing it. And you used a word there, which I think is so important: being conscious, being aware, and being conscious of what you're doing. So getting on your yoga mat gives you space to be conscious. It's a reminder. It's a reminder to do that practice, to be conscious then in the rest of your day, the rest of your life, whatever it may be. But it's the physical movement brings a tangible point to that. So it's once you can feel physically that, then everything else comes from there. Everything flows from that physical, practical, logical point of center or bearing.
And then it gives you more of a buffer for everyday stuff.
Yeah, it brings you home. So you have that space inside you that is home, and it's nice to be able to go there when you learn.
What are the most common postural distortions that you see, and how do you normally address that through? Is it Asana?
Yeah, asana is the physical practice. Yeah.
Yep.
Common, there is all kinds of things. Probably most people come in with an achy back, a sore knee, tight hips. So you start with standing poses, you start with the legs. So we do a monthly cycle of classes. Most Iyengar studios do. I most certainly follow that style of teaching. So the first week of the month, the focus is on legs, getting your legs to hold you, lift the energy up, working on alignment. We do a lot of standing poses. The second week of the month is forward bends and twists. So a little more organic, moving the torso, working on the digestion, all those internal. And then backs, so strengthening as well as extending, opening your chest. You were talking about that reverse thoracic curve. So that happens in the back bend week. And the final week of the month is restorative and pranayama. So it's a quiet week where we tend to do some of those poses that you hold for longer. You open your chest. We work on the breath. We work on feeling your body from the inside. And those classes, you have space to do that. So, and I think that's why I encourage everybody to come at least once a week regular, so that you see that you do that cycle. So we don't tend to do everything in one class. You do that over the month.
It sounds like the monthly cycle is almost it coincides with the seasons.
Yeah,
spring, summer, autumn, winter. But
you
also,
can look at it that way.
Also, Om.
Of the syllables.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot of rhythm and marrying up with different philosophies and ways to look at it. Yeah, very timeless.
How would you assess a student's body before deciding how to modify a pose?
Oh, with my eyes. Looking at how they standing poses, you can see what's going on. So I do privates, but so in a class, it's quite general. I do privates with people who have specific problems or goals, not even problems, more goals, something they want to achieve tends to be why privates happen. But in a class, it's all very general. I do adjust people. I do touch people, 'cause that feeling, teaching people how what's more aligned and what they need to do and how they need to feel. So yes, generally it's my eyes that assess people. Sometimes they tell me things are wrong, not always. Sometimes you can figure out a people or someone as soon as they walk into the room.
Some you can.
Yes.
But usually, I can only talk from a male perspective. The male ego will have to have an arm or leg falling off to, I guess, admit, yeah, this hurts.
Yeah.
Here, but I'm going to push through it because I'm...
Ego's very interesting, especially with male students. You're right. It tends to be a male thing. They'll push through.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, pulling them back.
Well, they don't like that.
It's something that happens.
We were talking yesterday about the Baton scale, and I know we did it yesterday, but I'll do it again.
Remind me.
For today, and I'll probably do it tomorrow if this episode doesn't work. It's the 9-point flexibility index that we use in teaching IMS 1, and it's more of just to find out how systemically tight someone is. And it's out of 9 points. So the first point is getting I can't remember what you got, Bridget.
I think I got 5 or 6.
So the first one is bringing your pinky back to 90 degrees.
Yep.
I'm lucky to be 60 there. So that's 1 point. Then you try the other pinky. Oh, it's less, about 45. So I'm 0 from 2. Then
I'm
getting
2.
your thumb to your
forearm?
wrist. Thumb, to forearm. 0 from 3.
Oh, I think I got this yesterday.
You pushed through.
I did push through. Oh, I'm nearly there. Yep, that's 1.
Yeah,
or another one. 4. That's 3 for me. 3 from 4.
That'd be so proud. if you can hyperextend your elbows. I've got a little bit on my left, so I'll give myself a point there.
Mhm.
Yeah, your left.
I don't think I can do that.
Yeah, your left one.
So I'm still...
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And then with
Right,
your knees,
4 from
hyperextending
5.
your knees.
Oh, yes, I can do that.
Yeah, my left
I'm
one
7.
sometimes does. How that works, I don't know. And then if you can lock your legs out and touch the ground with flat hands, that's the 9th point. So
Yeah.
typically
I'm 8 from
people,
9.
you're 8 from 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, most yoga instructors would be, which is kind of funny because we were talking yesterday how the closer to
Yes.
0 you are, the more things like yoga you need to do, but people don't like doing it. And this is where the ego kicks in. They don't like doing it because they're not good at it. Where most people who are more towards the 7, 8, 9 need to do more strength training to keep that balance, but they don't do it because they're not strong enough or they're not good enough with it. So it's just funny little game, the ego that we play with ourselves.
So, and I was talking about those men coming to yoga because they know they should, and they come in. They don't want to do it because they know it's going to be hard, and it is hard. Yoga is difficult sometimes, and they come in and they look at all these old women doing it effortlessly, and they just cannot. And it is a bit of the ego has a harder time than their muscles.
It's so true.
It is. Yeah. And I was telling Matt yesterday how once I worked with a bodybuilder. He was entered into Mr. Universe, and they're judged on particular postures that they make. They have to make shapes with their body and flex their muscles. But this particular guy, one of the shapes is they've got to hold their hands behind their back. And this particular guy, he'd worked on the strength part of it so much, they shortened his muscles so much that he couldn't even hold his hands behind his back. And that's not that unusual, I wouldn't think.
Well, one question I forgot to ask you yesterday was if he's going for Mr. Universe, he's not a small guy, I assume.
He's not a small guy.
Was he able to do a lot of the poses and hold them, I guess, long enough?
You mean in his routine that he had to do? Yes, but it's more just they don't have to touch the ground or anything. He was a very tight guy.
Just bound up.
Yes, bound up. Short muscle fibers.
Oh, yeah.
That's what bodybuilders do. They repeat that movement and they get no length in their muscle fibers. They shorten everything.
I find they're strong in isolation, but when it comes to a movement like a squat or a cable, something, it's just...
Because if you need length on one side, shortness on the other to be able to move. If that shortness on the back side isn't allowing the movement on the front, it's
correct.
It's a problem waiting to happen. It's an injury waiting to happen sometimes.
Most of the time, I would say. Not that there's anything necessarily against bodybuilding, but there is a balance that we...
It's not true of all bodybuilders, actually. There are some bodybuilders who do work on flexibility. So it is possible to have big, strong, and long muscles. It is possible.
It is possible. Heard it here first.
Rare, but possible. Yeah.
So how do you work with clients who are in pain or recovering from an injury? And where would you say Iyengar Yoga fit within the physiotherapy, exercise physiology, corrective exercise realm?
Okay, so if people injure themselves, most people go to a physio because that's the accepted norm. And then people go to the physio and then they come into class. When the physio says it's okay, which is as everybody should. And then they tell me it's exactly the same as what we do in yoga.
Yeah.
So it's very similar. The exercises that physios give and the yogic asanas, the physical shape is very similar because it's about alignment and doing the movements correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So often there's a crossover, which is great because people are reassured that what they do at yoga is the right thing. If people, sometimes long-term practitioners, just come into class with an injury, and that's fine with me. If you know your body and you know how it works, I can look at your body. I can't feel your body. So I know what it looks like and I can help you be aligned and I can give you alternatives if I know what's wrong in class. Absolutely. So I come into class and we're trained to be able to look after basic problems. Yes.
So I mean, a lot of people will avoid the spot that hurts, but also,
well, that you shouldn't really.
no,
Not always.
well, I mean, the spot that hurts isn't necessarily where the problem is.
Problems. Yeah.
I know that bit there hurts, but it's likely the consequence of something else. And regardless of where your pain point is, the body will always hug
protection.
It's going to hug the point of greatest tension. So if you've got that little adhesion in the rib, like we spoke about earlier, your entire fascial system will do that. And if you crush that down, you collapse on your right. Because of the way the nervous system is wired, you're going to stay horizontal. So there's two more compensations, and then you add movement to that. But they're just worried about, oh, my shoulder hurts. It's been hurting because you've been compensating for so long.
Yes. So what you do to your shoulder probably won't make much difference. You need to actually address the root cause and the root misalignment of that issue. So that's why it is yoga is a holistic practice. So yes, we look at the whole body, like those cycles of the month or the weeks in the month. We look at every part. Look at every part and how it all works together.
Yeah, I think we really need to, especially as practitioners. We can't just look at the spot and say, well, your shoulder hurts, we need to rub the shoulder. I mean, one of the main causes of frozen shoulder is actually over-treatment of the shoulder. No one thinks to look at the phrenic nerve or how the rib cages are function or head, neck, jaw, everything above, below, and around the shoulder. They just smash the shoulder. Bridget, before I forget, yesterday you went into what you went through with the training and to become a trainer.
A teacher trainer. Okay.
Teacher trainer.
Training.
Teacher trainer coach, teacher trainer.
Yes. So we mentioned earlier that it's not the 200-hour course. It's not the sign up online and you're done. So in the Iyengar system, and this is worldwide, so you should be able to walk into an Iyengar class around the world, and it might be in a different language, but it would be similar. So I train on that apprenticeship model, and to become an Iyengar yoga teacher, you need to be trained by a registered teacher trainer. You have to have 3 years experience of practicing Iyengar yoga before you can start doing a teacher training course or.
So that's attending classes.
You need to attend classes regularly for 3 years first. And then you have to have 300 hours assisting in class. So my trainees, they come in and they demonstrate at the front and they go around and adjust people, and it's very hands-on learning. And for their assessment, I can't assess my own trainees. They are assessed by a panel of other senior Iyengar teachers. So they get a lot of feedback, and it's very high quality training. You are assessed on theory. So, right, answering some questions on philosophy, on how you would teach, how you would address certain problems. You are assessed on your practice. So you do a 2-hour practice and they will watch your practice. And then you are assessed on your teaching. So you teach a class of strangers, about 6 to 8 people, and you teach a half an hour class, and you're assessed by independent people. And that's to enable that such a high quality of teachers. So Iyengar teachers are quite well trained. Now, for me to become a trainer, so that first assessment means that you can teach a class. For me,
so what's the time between starting as a
a
student, day
minimum
one?
of 2 years. So you've got 3 years before you join a program, and then 2 years until you put your hand up and go for assessment.
So it takes you essentially 5 years to teach a class.
Yes. At least I think it's 2 years. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure it is 2 years.
Yep.
Once you join a teacher training program, you can teach a class under my guidance.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes. So you can't just go and teach anybody. I've got to be involved in that.
And for how long can you do that?
How long can you?
How long could I teach a class under your guidance until I can go out on my own?
Until you pass that first assessment.
Okay.
So that first assessment, then once you've passed that, then there's a series of you continue on. So the system has changed a little bit to simplify it. Once Mr. Iyengar passed away, his granddaughter took over, Abby. She is amazing. I love her to death. She's fabulous. And she's simplified the whole system.
Yeah.
So I've actually attended 6 assessments. I've passed 5. So I've failed. Most people fail an assessment. Some people fail the same level 3 times. So it can be devastating, but it ensures that the teachers are of high quality. So now in this simplified system, you have to pass 3 levels to enable you until you are qualified to become a teacher trainer. So now I am a teacher trainer. I can train people to become teachers. Now I don't kind of tell people that too often, because I don't want many. Just because I want the teachers to be good. So I have capacity for a few trainees at a time and steer them through, because it's ongoing education. It doesn't stop when they pass assessment. It keeps on going. Like my teacher, I still have training, still work with her every week.
Yeah, it's quite incredible just the amount of time it takes to not necessarily master something, but to become proficient at it to such a degree that you live it, you breathe it.
Yeah. It has to be in you.
Yeah.
It has to live in here.
But think of how many certifications are out there that you can do online over a weekend or within 6 months.
Yes.
Like when I was going through PT, it took at that time 2 years, 18 months to 2 years to get everything done and submitted and blah, blah, blah. I think these days it takes 6 months online to do it. Similar with massage.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've essentially got a yoga degree, right?
There's no substitute between learning from someone, especially in our massage personal training, yoga. It's the body, and to touch and feel a body and learn from someone. Then you can't have a substitute for that, I don't think.
No, but also I think there's a difference between acquiring knowledge and learning something.
Knowing the knowledge. Yeah.
There's a huge difference, because until that knowledge, that acquired knowledge is practiced,
Yes.
you haven't learnt it. You don't know it.
Yes.
And I mean, it takes, I think in Russia, it takes 7 years to become a massage therapist.
Wow.
And I went through the Czech system, and that took, I think, 5.5, 6.5 years to do all that, and it's still ongoing.
Yeah.
So it's a never-ending thing. Just because you got the piece of paper doesn't mean that, oh, well, that's it.
That's true. In my own experience, I passed my first assessment in 2007, and I passed my last assessment in 2024, I think. So that's, more than 15 years of assessments, just constantly learning and just continuing on.
Well, getting your degree or your certificate really is just a license to keep learning.
Yeah.
It's not the end.
Yeah.
Yesterday we spoke about breath.
Oh, yes, we did, didn't we?
And we spoke about breath and breath work and all that kind of stuff. How is breath used in Iyengar Yoga compared to systems like diaphragmatic breathing taught in either corrective exercise, other yogas, or what most people would think breath work is today?
So breathwork's really popular. We were talking about that. It's very popular.
Mm-hmm.
So most breath work comes from yoga practices. So we need to go back historically as well to understand some of the differences. So the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is what Iyengar Yoga draws its traditions from, was written about 400 or 500 BC. So it's 2,500 years old. It's an old text. It's not very specific. It's written in short, terse verses, if you will. And it's the explanation of those verses that is where you get the knowledge from, the explanation. Hatha yoga, which is probably the most well-known yoga, is based on the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and that was written about 1400, so 600 years ago. So nearly 2,000 years after the Sutras of Patanjali. That's a gathering of this, or both of the books were a gathering of the practices at the time. So the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the older one, that focus was on the mind. And they used asana and breath work to still the fluctuations of the mind. That's probably the most famous sutra, Chittavritti Nirodha, which means stopping the mind moving, the distractions, if you will. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika is more about energy. It's more about moving that Kundalini energy up and down the spine and around the body. Now, that's not to say that they don't do the same thing. They do, but it's a different goal. So my understanding, and I'm not an expert by any means, especially on the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, is that they want immortality by moving the energy. Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is much more calming. They want a quiet mind. So how they approach breath is completely different. So in the Iyengar system, and I teach traditional pranayama, it's more calming, using the practices to affect your mind, to quieten your mind. The more vigorous breath movements So the holotropic breathing, all of that stuff, which is amazing for some people, is not really what Iyengar Yoga does.
Yeah.
So we were talking yesterday about how that energy moving, the quite vigorous breath work is really powerful for some people to help remove trauma. But that's not what I teach. That's not what I do. So there's a difference to what I'm more of the calming the nervous system, and both end up kind of at the same place, but different methods.
I'd say even they're two halves of the same circle.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think the breath work is just the hyperventilating into psychosis events, but it's really the reason people get, I guess, a response from it, because they've got so much energy stuck, especially really commonly around the heart and the gut. I mean, we've all got
either side of the diaphragm. Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got the diaphragm's the bridge between, the animal self and the spiritual self. If you've got tension around, anyone who's had any kind of life has tension around the heart. So we've all got some heart thing. We've all been heartbroken. We've all been in, etc. So moving that energy that's been there for potentially decades and moving that for the first time, and we often will shut down how we feel to avoid feeling the feeling that doesn't feel great. So therefore it's going to stimulate an intellectual response in most people. So they're going to overthink instead of feeling. But then as soon as you get that awareness into the heart and then move things around, of course something's going to come up.
Yes. So it's a difference between, yes, I've had a life. Yes, stuff has happened. Is that okay? Yes. Can I deal with that? If no, maybe you need to do something about it. Am I dealing with it? Yes. Then maybe there's not so much need for that. Because sometimes I think it's unnecessary. It's an unnecessary strain on your nervous system, your emotional body. Some people need it, yes, but if you can manage yourself and manage your life and bear the load that comes with having a life, then that's not bad, I don't think.
No, I mean, we all incarnated, and we, I guess from a mystical viewpoint, you could say that we chose our parents to create the catalyst and the polarity, and our parents just want to put on us, avoid the lions and tigers and bears.
Yeah.
That got me, so I'll do this, I'll do that, so you don't have to do that. But as Carl Jung said, all children live the unmet lives of their parents. And I think a lot of the things we develop growing up, be it, you can use the word trauma, you could use the word maybe something just happened and you've held on to it. We start to identify with that thing. And it would have, we would have created...
It's unavoidable. Don't you think it's unavoidable?
It is unavoidable. I think that's a different episode altogether. That a lot of people will identify with that, and then from that vantage point will create a victim, a saboteur character, which will work for them at some point. It might protect them from a certain situation.
Oh, but I know what you're saying. You get stuck there.
You get stuck there. You get comfortable there, and then you identify with that. And without that victim or saboteur or child archetype, you don't know who you are. And that's probably more of a trauma than the actual trauma itself. Yeah.
So get on the mat and figure out who you are from the outside in. Yeah. How you react to things, like learn how am I reacting in this situation where I have to stay in this back bend? What am I feeling? Is it my body that makes me want to come out? Is it my mind telling me I can't do it? Where am I holding? Where am I gripping? And then you learn about how you think, how
Yeah.
you approach those situations,
Yeah.
and you learn about yourself.
Yeah. I think that's really well said. And it doesn't just go with yoga. That can be
Anything.
weight training or
And that's the point. That is
Mm.
the point. Find that out and then take it off to everything else that you do. Apply it in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there, speaking of the mat, is there a pose or practice that you would recommend for people who, let's say, are either stuck in themselves, which is paradoxically outside themselves, or who are completely disconnected?
Disconnected from their body, is that what you mean?
I think so.
So
Yes.
that there's those people who are overthinkers, that they live in their brain. Is that what you mean? And they can't kind of feel their
Yep.
body? Yeah.
Yep.
So I start with grounding with your feet, with your standing pose, with your legs, to feel the connection of the earth. And when they can feel that, then you move on. Then you go from there.
So it just really starts with standing.
It can, yeah.
And
Yeah,
just,
feel your body.
I would
Feel
always
it.
ask a patient to go down, like we're right near the beach, right? But it can be near a park or
Oh, yeah, stick your feet in the ocean.
wherever.
Feel the
Or
earth.
even just on the grass. So wiggle your toes. Now, next time
Take
I
your shoes
see
off.
you, I want you to describe it to me, not how it was, but I want you to describe the experience of putting your feet into the grass.
Yep.
Don't say, oh, it felt good. No, describe it to me. Like
Yeah.
you're writing a book. And I
Yeah.
find when people shift from, oh yeah, it was good, to, okay, how do I
perceive this, and what are my senses telling me?
well, it's how do I live this as well?
Yeah.
And that just brings them
Sensations. Can
Yeah.
I perceive the sensations? Can I then explain those perceived sensations?
Mm.
So it's a progression. It's a learning.
Bridget, thank you
Matthew?
so much for persisting with the tech. I thought I was getting good at it for a while, but I think the last 24 hours has humbled me. So,
Well, I hope that this conversation was just as scintillating as the one we had yesterday.
yeah, that was a good one. I think whatever we didn't mention yesterday, it was meant to come out today.
Yeah.
So I hope everyone has enjoyed this conversation as much as we have.
Hmm.
So, Bridget, feel free to share any final comments or where people can find you or anywhere you want to direct them.
Okay, so my website is seabreezeyoga.com.au. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Seabreeze Yoga. I teach classes at Cronulla at TrueWoo, and some of them are online as well. But if you're local, I recommend you come in. And I also teach workshops and day retreats, weekend retreats, and even a week in Vietnam this year.
Boom.
Thank you, Matt, for having me on. It's been fun.
Absolute pleasure. Since we work in the same building, I'll likely see you soon.
Probably.
See ya.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Body's Compass podcast with Matt Sorensen and today's guest, Bridget Hughes. You can find Bridget on Instagram at Seabreeze Yoga or her website www.seabreezeyogacronulla.com. If you like this week's episode, please consider giving us a 5-star rating and a warm review on the platform you're listening from. Please share this episode with someone you think it might help. If you want to find out more, give us a follow on Instagram at The Body's Compass. Subscribe to Matt's YouTube at Matt Sorensen Live or swing by heelhub.net. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.